Okay, so for this project, I'm going to use yellow yarn, and you can use any kind of yarn you want. I am using the Peaches and Cream, so I don't have the label to show you, but if you've been crocheting for a while, or you can just go to the store and anything like this. This is a little stiffer, not quite as soft, but it is a great one to work with, especially for projects like these, and also for making like little area rugs. This stuff is great, and there are a lot of different brands now. This is the Peaches and Cream. And then I have a contrasting strip of yarn for a marker. And then I have a little sewing needle for yarn, so it's got the blunt tip. Actually, this one's kind of sharp. But either way, just something like that to sew with. I'm going to use a crochet hook size 5 millimeters. So that is letter H. Okay, so let's get started. So the first thing we're going to do is a magic circle. I love the magic circle. Hold your yarn like this and just put the tail across your fingers like this. Now spread your fingers a little bit. You're gonna wind under. You're gonna go under the middle finger and you're gonna cross over like that. Pin it with your pinky. That'll help keep it in place. Take your hook, go underneath this first strand of the X, yarn over this way, grab this piece, come underneath, and then just swivel your hand this way, grab that top piece, and pull through the loop. Okay? And then you can drop everything, because now you've got your loop, and then just find your tail. So when you pull on the tail, it's going to reduce your circle size. So leave it a little big for now, and then we'll tighten it up when we're done with the 6. Okay, so go ahead and secure your yarn however you're comfortable in doing that. And I like to hold it right here just to keep things secure. So just keep your tail, and also crochet the tail along the loop line to kind of weave it in as you crochet. So let's go ahead. We got a nice loop on our hook here. Go underneath and crochet 6 single crochets in the loop. So there's one. Go underneath both strands. And there's 2. Three. 4. 5 and 6. So we've completed that. So now we're going to work into the first single crochet that we started with. Take your contrasting yarn for your marker, or if you have the little plastic markers, those are great too. But if you don't have any of those, just get an extra piece of yarn and use that as your marker. So just lay that across, and what we're going to do now is we're going to do 2 single crochets in each single crochet all the way around, but you're not going to go under both loops. You're going to go into the back loop only. And in a crochet pattern, that is BLO, back loop only. So go into the back loop, so it's the one furthest away from you. Yarn over, drop a loop, and finish your single crochet, and then do one more in the back loop only to complete 2 single crochets. Okay, so let's go to the next one, and it's marked, so it's underneath. So this strand is marking this first one right So that's 2, so we'll do another 2. So as you can see, the double loops on top of each single crochet. So here are the 2 loops. It looks like it's the top one because they're both facing me actually right now. But anyway, so go into the back loop, which is the one on top, but the one furthest away. And do your 2 single crochets. So there's 1. And it's sticking up now, so it's easy to see. And there is my 2nd single crochet. And keep a nice tension. At this point, you can go ahead and really, now that we're kind of away from the circle there, go ahead and find your yellow tail and just kind of pull it tight. And see how that just closed up the circle. And go ahead and just finish. Do 2, 2, 2 all the way around until you get right here. Okay, so now we're back to the beginning, and you can take your marker out, lay it on top of the next one. And what we're going to be doing now we have 12, and I really recommend counting your stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we have 12 single crochets. Lay your marker across the first one, and back loop only, and it's going to be back loop only the entire time we're making this base circle for the flower. And now we're going to evenly increase the size of our circle. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with 1 single crochet in addition, all the way around, and then 2 and 3 and so on, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So for the next one, 1 single crochet in the back loop only. So there's 1. And then in the next single crochet, we're going to increase. Whenever you see INC, that stands for increase. And that just means you're going to do 2 of whatever kind of stitch you're doing, whether it be single, double, treble, whatever, or half double, whatever the stitch is that is in the directions of your project. When it says increase, you're going to be doing 2 of that stitch in a single stitch. So we're going to increase. So when it says increase, you're going to go to the next stitch, and we're going to do 2 single crochets in this one. And remember, back loop only. So find your back loop, which is right here, and do your 2 single crochets. And that is the pattern for this next round. So all the way around, so going to the next one, it's just going to be 1 single crochet in the back loop only of the next single crochet. So there's 1, and then you're going to do 2 in the next one. So in back loop only, you're going to do 2 single crochets. Easy to find when you do the first one. You can see the little hole that is made, and so it makes it easy to find. So that is the pattern for this round. So go ahead and complete all the way around. Do 1 and then 2, 1, 2, all the way around, and I will see you back at the beginning. So we are back to the beginning, and here is our marker thread directly underneath the first single crochet that we did for this round. So we can take that out and lay it right on top. And now, same thing as before, to build our circle, we're going to do 2 single crochets back to back with 2 single in one stitch. So we're gonna go single, single, 2 single, 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 2 single all the way around. So let's do that together. And when we start building on our numbers, I like to do a little trick to help. You can write things down. I definitely recommend writing down where you are in a pattern. But for this, since it's not really like a written down pattern of where we're keeping track, we can just do it in our minds. But what I like to do, now that we're doing 2 singles back to back, I count. So go into the first one, into the back loop only, and do your single crochet, and that is 1 single. Go to the next single crochet, and that is your second single crochet. So 1, 2. In the third single crochet, you're going to do 2 in the same single crochet. And so go into the back loop, only this time for my benefit, I'm going to call it A and B. So I'm just going to say A and B. That way I know where I am. So I'm giving them names now, so I know how many, and if somebody all of a sudden starts talking to me, and I'm like, wait a minute, I just said A and B, so I go back to 1. So 1 in the next, which is 1. The second one, which I'm just calling 2. So we're doing 1 and 2. And in the third, A and B. Or if you prefer, you can say A, B, 1, 2, A, B, 1, 2. And the next round will be A, B, C, 1, 2. Or the way I'm liking to do it, I'm just keeping all of my 2 single crochets in the single stitch. It's always going to be A, B for me. That way I know how many. But if you'd rather do the alphabet, that's fine. Or you can do nothing at all. But I just like to keep track that way. So I've done A, B right here. So I'm going to go 1, and 2, and then A, B in the back loop only. So there's my A, and there's my B. So that's just a little trick I like to do to keep track of where I am when creating these circles. So go ahead and complete the round, and I will see you back at the beginning. Okay, so I am at my last stitch here with this round, and I want to point something else out to you that's going to help as well. So you can see my marker is underneath this one. It's underneath this one right here. So this is my last stitch. I did my 1 and my 2. I have A, B to go, and that's how you know that you didn't skip anything, or that's one trick other than recounting your stitches, but it's kind of a confirmation that you stayed on track, because I'm at my last stitch here, and it is an A, B. It's the double. It's the 2 single crochets in the same stitch, and so it's just kind of a confirmation that it turned out the way it was supposed to for this round. So there's my A and my B, and then always recount. So now here I am back at the beginning. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So count your stitches, and there should be a total of 24 single crochets all the way around. Okay, so let's do a few more rows, and we'll just do really quick here. I'm gonna pull the marker out, lay it across, and now we're gonna do 3. So single in the back loop only of the next 3 single crochets. There's 1. So one single in the next 3. And there is 2. And that makes 3. And now I'm going to do my AB. So in the next one, back loop only, do 2 single crochets. There's single crochet A, and there's single crochet B. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, AB, 1, 2, 3, AB, or however you keep track. So go ahead and finish the round, and I will see you right here. So you get the idea. So go ahead, make your circle as big as you want. If you want to follow exactly how I'm doing, I'm going to get to 6 single before my AB, and then we will start the flower portion. I have completed up to 6 singles and then the double, and this is what it looks like. So it's getting pretty big. But the thing is, depending on the size you want for your flower, because what we're going to do is we're going to sew the edge together so it's going to curl up into a ball. So it is going to reduce in size quite a bit. So, but I'm just going to stop here for my marigold. So this is my last AB stitch right here. I'm going to take out the marker stitch, and then I'm going to fasten off. So in directions, when you're reading a crochet pattern, it's going to say fasten off. And in this case, we're going to fasten off and leave a long tail for sewing. So that's what that means. So we're going to go under both loops this time, just like regular, and we're going to draw up a loop like we would a single, and then we're going to do a slip stitch tie off. So we're not going to yarn over. We're going to just continue on and bring the loop through the loop, and then you're going to leave a long tail for sewing. So as you're pulling up, go ahead and stick a finger in there as you increase, because you are going to be cutting the moving strand. So don't cut the wrong one. So this is the one that's moving. So block it with your finger so you don't cut the wrong strand, and you're going to cut it off. And then you're going to pull it out and tighten it. Okay, so now you have a nice long tail. Do about 12 to 15 inches, depending on, how big you made your circle, your base of the flower. So better to have too much than not enough. So about a foot, foot and a half is reasonable for a tail for sewing. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to work the flower petals into the back loop only that you can see right here. These little ridges, each little back loop only, left us a place to work in the petals. So we're going to start in the middle and work our way all the way around with the petals. Okay, so for this, I'm going to get a smaller hook. So we started with the 5. I'm gonna put my 5 away, and I'm going to switch to a smaller hook, and I've decided to go with the 4.25, which is a G hook. Okay, so just depending on what you've done and the type of yarn you've chosen, just go down a size so that it's not the exact same size that you had. So go down a size to help really get in underneath a little easier, okay? Okay, so for the flower petals, we're gonna take our yarn and we're gonna tie it on with a slip stitch. And so when you're looking at the face of the base, you're gonna go underneath that first back loop, and we're gonna be working around and around. The first 2 rounds we're gonna do in shorter chains. So here's a 1 round, and then it blends into the other. So about right here, I'm gonna go ahead and mark it with my marker stitch to know where to stop with the chain 2 petals. Okay, so I'm just marking it to know where I'm going to increase my chain length to make for longer petals around. Okay, so anyway, let's go back, and so we're going to start here. We're going to tie on the yarn and start making the petals. So just tie it on with a slip stitch. You can pin that if you want, and then just tighten up the tail, tighten it, and then bring this down. So just tighten it as best you can and get tight on the hook again. And then from here, you're going to chain 2. And then we're going to rotate to find where we're starting. Okay, so again, we're starting right here, so just kind of rotate around. You can drop your hook, go up through the middle to get rid of the tail. So go ahead and just grab your tail and pull it through the middle to get rid of it. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So we've chained 2. So it's kind of stretched out for me a little bit because I've just been kind of playing with a different few ideas for petals. And I've decided just to go ahead and stick with chains because it'd be the easiest. Okay, so 2 chains and then a slip stitch in the same stitch. So let's go to the next one. And it's right here. Okay, so go into the next one, yarn over, slip stitch. So you pull up a loop and you go right into the second one to slip stitch, pull it tight, and then chain 2. Go into the same one again for a slip stitch. So it'll be slip stitch, however many chains you're doing, and then a slip stitch again to secure it. Okay, and see, I folded it over to get a better handle on my yarn. So here is the next one. I'm gonna go underneath the back loop only. Feel free just to fold your work over so you can really get a tight grasp. Pull up a loop, draw through again for your slip stitch, pull it tight, chain 2, and go back in for another slip stitch to secure. Okay, and then pull it tight again. And we're gonna do that and go all the way around until you get to your marker. Okay, so go ahead and do that, and I will see you right here at the marker. I have gotten to the marker, and what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna take it out, and I'm gonna drop my loop for just a second. So I'm gonna go ahead and jump right up here and mark it with my marker thread, my marker yarn, to know that I'm gonna go all the way around, and when I come back around here, I'll go to the next length. So this next round is going to be just one round, and it's going to be with chain 3 for a gradual length increase. Okay, so we'll start that together. So I'm gonna go back into my loop here. Okay, so I'm at a slip stitch here, so I'm going to go to my next one. and do my slip stitch. And I'm going to do chain 3 to lengthen my petals just slightly, and then I will finish with my slip stitch in the same stitch to secure it. So there's my slip stitch, okay? And then we go to the next one. So slip stitch, slip stitch, pull it tight, chain 3, and slip stitch in the same stitch. Let's do that to increase our petal length and go all the way around until you get to your marker. I did my last slip stitch to secure my petal, my last petal. And so I'm at the marker and I'm going to remove the marker and just drop it now. And I'm gonna do my slip stitch in the next to start my next one. Only this time, I'm going from 3 to 5. So I'm gonna do 5 chains. So we're skipping doing 4. We're not gonna do that much of a gradual. We're gonna go straight to 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And back for a slip stitch in the same stitch. Okay, pull it tight. Slip stitch in the next one. Pull it tight and do 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and bring it down for a slip stitch. Okay, so that is looking so cute. Look how tight that is. That is so cute. I'm loving that. So anyway, with the 5 chains, go ahead and complete the rest of the flower, and then we will stuff it and tighten up the edges. Okay, so I have come to the very last stitch, and then I'm just going to finish this off, and then we'll sew it closed. And just bring up a long tail so that you can weave it in. Okay, so we can just weave this in, and then we have the long tail that we're going to zigzag stitch all the way around with our little sewing needle and kind of cinch it closed, and then we can stuff it with the stuffing. So close it to about here, and then it probably is stiff enough it doesn't need much stuffing, but go ahead and just stuff as much as you can in there. But it might not be much, but just a little bit will help make it fluffy. And then we can tighten it the rest of the way closed. for the stem, I am going to use the same type of yarn, and this one is loops and threads, and I'm just picking any green. This was the only green that they had, and I just went to Michael's craft store. Okay, so I have my green yarn, and then I'm going to use a skinny stick. This is actually one of the little poker sticks that come in a polyfill bag. Sometimes polyfill bags where you get your stuffing for your, you know, like with the stuffing that I used for this, or, you know, for your amigurumis that you make, they come with a little stuffer stick. So I don't find myself needing to use this, so it's gonna just sit right on there like that and be nice and skinny and look most like an African violet. So I'm gonna go ahead and make a stem according to this stick. And so what we need to do, if you have a stick similar to this, you know, find something kind of skinny. If you have a chopstick, that would be perfect too. Same type of thing, same skinny long stick. And once you figure out your stick, however you go about it, once you've decided on your stem base, that's what we'll call this, we need to chain a little bit longer than the length of the stick. And chain 20 or 30 and see how I'm doing. So I'm gonna go ahead and start chaining. Okay, so I have stopped crocheting. I took a look and sized it up a little bit. I did go a little bit longer, so I can undo 37, 30, 36, 35. So I'm gonna stop at 35. And then we're just gonna single crochet all the way back into the chain. And so if you wanna count your stitches, that would be good to at least know that you've got the right number going across every time you make a new row. And so like I said, you can never work right back in to the one you're coming out of because you would just unwind. So we're coming out of this one, you can see that. So you're going to be working in this chain. So go right into that chain, yarn over, pull up a loop, and draw through both loops on the hook for your first single crochet. And just go back into the loop. Remember, just go under that first strand of the side, because you can see there's a little spine, there's a little back loop too. Just go right into that top loop of the V. And then make your single crochet. And just continue on down your chain, and I will see you right here. So I have made it to the end. Because I unraveled a couple, I ended up with, when I did my single crochets down the chain, I ended up with 34 single crochets. And now I'm gonna go back the other way and make one more row and see if it's wide enough to overlap the stick. So when looking at it, we're gonna be working right underneath the two, you know, the little V's of the stitch. So go right underneath and do your first single and all the way down. And you can see the little hole where it goes into, you know, it's just right there and there and there. So when you put it in the little hole and you turn it back this way, you can see that you're going underneath the little V's. So go ahead and complete another row, and we'll check with my stick and see if it's big enough. And whatever you're using, you'll just make as many rows as you need to be able to wrap it around. So I'm gonna do another row and we'll see how we're doing. Okay, so I have completed 3 rows, and I'm just gonna drop my hook here and see how I'm doing, because I want it to be nice and tight and I want to keep the stem as skinny as possible. And even if you have to kind of stretch a little bit, that'll help too. And yeah, I think that's gonna work. Yeah, so it's barely touching, but yeah, by the time because I'm gonna use my needle to sew it together with a whip stitch. So that I think is gonna work for me. And I'm going to pull up a long tail for sewing. So if you're done and you're happy with how yours is wrapping around your stem, then you can drop your hook and use a long tail for sewing. Remember to cut the thread that's moving. Don't cut the wrong one. Okay. And just pull it tight. I'm going to take my little yarn needle here and I like this. This looks better for the outside, so I'm going to just use this. And so I'm going to slide underneath the loop, that second loop of the chain, the original chain. Get the tail out of the way and just close it. And I can keep doing the whip stitch pattern, or I can zigzag. I think I kind of like doing it that way. So I'm going to come back this way, so same side, and I'm going to come back this way, and I'm going to go to the top. I'm just choosing. You can do it however you want, but in looking at the tops of the single crochets, I'm going to go for the one closest to the edge, so that when I sew it together, it just kind of all disappears and becomes one. So yeah, go ahead and close up your stem, and then we'll put the stick in, and then we will make the leaves. Okay, so I have stitched my last right here at the end, and this is what it looks like. I've decided this is gonna go ahead and just be my end. So, and this will be the top. So I'm going to, what I'll have to do is weave this in after I stuff this. So I'm gonna feed in the round side first. I might even have to unstitch. Let me just try to open it up a little bit. There we go. See what I'm doing here. And I'm gonna just kind of wiggle, just be loose and just kind of wiggle, and it should just open right up for you. Just kind of wiggle and get it in there, just little bit by bit, so you don't puncture the sides, depending on what you're using. This seems to be going in pretty easily. And I have hit the end. Look at that. So I've hit the end, and just gonna kind of straighten it out a little bit. And then it doesn't come all the way because I'm gonna be putting this, I might even squish it down a little bit so that it can just stick right in there. But that's what it's gonna look like. So yeah, so I'm gonna leave a little bit, so I'm not worried about coming all the way off the end, because now if I had known ahead of time that I was gonna use this, I could have left a bigger hole to let the stem go all the way inside. But the way it's gonna sit like this, it'll be flush up against it anyway. It'll work out just fine. All right, so that works out for me. I'm gonna go ahead and weave in this end and fasten this off. I'm just gonna make a loop, go back in like you would regular sewing, and just kind of tie a couple of these knots. Maybe I'll just go down the stem a little bit. to hide it. So I'll just go down the stem, just about that far, maybe a little farther. Okay, that looks pretty good. And just feed it down there, pull it a little bit extra, and then cut right up against it so that when I pull this back, it disappears. Okay, so I'm just gonna feed this in and then we will work on the leaves. One little trick that I can show you, if you have a tail that's a little shorter like this and you're having trouble putting it on your needle and then turning around and sewing, what I like to do in situations like this is I like to go ahead and feed it in. Let's see, I'll pick a spot. Feed it in to start it. Turn it around this way because and then I'll just put the yarn in from here. So, and I always, you know, when the end looks like that, so I just roll it like this and then put it up against as much as possible in the eye, grab it from here, and then leave a little bit of this. You kind of have to be close to the end like that for it to go through. And then I just pull through. And that always seems to work well for me. Okay, so with the green yarn again, make another slip knot. So we'll just put a slip knot on the same hook. The 4.25 is what I'm using. And I'm gonna make my slip knot and just make it nice and tight. There we go. So that it's nice and even all the way around my hook and able to move. And let's go ahead. So I am going to chain 9. Okay, so chain 9, and then I'm going to work back into the chain 6. So it's a length of 9 chains, but the 9th chain really doesn't count. Think about it as 8 with 1 extra. So we have 9. I'm going to slip stitch in 6 chains back this way, back down the chain, 6 slip stitches. So remember, we can't work out of the one we're coming out of, so go to the next one and slip stitch down 6 chains. So there's the 1. Remember, slip stitch, you don't yarn over. You just go in, grab the yarn, and then come right through. Okay, so that's 2. Remember, go in the chain, pull up a loop, and then keep going. Bring that loop through. Okay, 2 more. Slip stitch 2 more times. There we go. Sometimes you have to pull and tighten and lift. Okay, so now we are down to 2 chains. So there are 2 chains left. And this is the first little petal of ours. And now we're going to chain 9 again. So 9 again, and this time we're going to work into the next 7. So slip stitch 7. So there's 1. Kind of pull it up, you know, make it workable. And there's 2. 3. 4. Here's the next one. 5. 6. And 7. And that leaves behind 1 chain. And now we will do another 9 chains. Okay, so another 9 chains, and now we will go down, we will slip stitch down 8. So go down and slip stitch down 8 chains. There's 7. Sometimes this yarn you gotta kind of tug at it to straighten it out. There's 7, and then there is 8, which is leaving us no extra chain, because remember we only chained 9. So that takes up all of those chains that were there. And then from here we are going to chain 6. And there is 6, so 6 chains, slip stitch down the chain, 5 slip stitches, and 5. So there are no chains left. And let's take a moment to look. So it is a little more than halfway complete. Here's the part that will connect to the stem. And then here are the little spiky leaves of the African Marigold. And there will be 7 total. So 1, 2, 3, there will be the middle piece, and then matching on the other side. Now for the other side, it's almost exactly the same, but not exactly, because we will not be doing 9. Okay, so now going back down the other side of the petal, we will be basically recreating the same amount of stitches on this side. So it won't be exactly the same as what we've just done, but it'll be almost exactly the same. So we're here now at the base of our 5 slip stitches. We're gonna go right into 9 to do an 8 slip stitch here to match this first part of this petal. So go ahead and chain 9. And that is 9. And then to match the length of this one, we're gonna go down 8. So just like we just did, we're gonna slip stitch down 8 chains. And here is the last one, and that makes 8 slip stitch. Okay, so let's kind of straighten things out a little bit here. So now we're going to join to this one to kind of connect them. So go into the base of the matching part of the, we'll just call it a leaf, even though the whole thing is a leaf. And we're gonna slip stitch it to its little twin. We'll call them twins. And that way they're right across from each other, just like that. Okay, so now we're gonna match to the next one. So lay it out, don't get anything twisted, make sure you know where you are. We're gonna now mimic this one. This was 7 slip stitches with no chains in between. So we're gonna go right into 8 chains to do a 7 slip stitch. So then we'll do 8 chains. Eight, and then you'll go down 7 slip stitches. And here is the last one, which is 7. And then we just need to connect to the matching, we'll call it a petal, even though this whole thing is a petal. So we're gonna match up with this guy. So we're gonna go slip stitch right at the base to connect them. Okay, great. So now they're lined up. Now remember, we did have a chain in between when we went to this next one. There was a chain that was left. So we do need to, and you can see it might be hard to see, but it is right here. Just know that it's there. And so here it is. So remember, this is where we're coming out of, this little base. So go ahead and slip stitch in that chain, because there is an extra chain all by itself right there. So slip stitch in that one. And now we're ready to do this last, the little partner twin. And so this is 6 slip stitches worth, remember. So we're going to chain 7. And 7. And we will be slip stitching down 6. So do 6 slip stitches down the chain. And that is 6. And then remember to match it up. So slip stitch in the base of the one opposite to connect them. And remember, we had 2 chains that we had left over when we did our chain 9 originally when starting this first one. So remember, we have 2 chains left from the beginning when we started this one, and so we'll just slip stitch in those to finish it off. Okay, and then go ahead and just yarn over and bring up a tail for sewing. Again, I like to put my finger in there so I have the moving strand right up top so I don't cut the wrong one. Pull it out, tighten it up, and there is your little leaf. And then just kind of shape it to kind of go that way, or however you want it to be. Maybe a little curve that way. There. So make one more and we'll sew it on the stem. Now that the leaves are made, I'm just going to sew them right on the side. And I think in the pictures, the stems weren't coming up too awfully high. So I think I'm gonna go right about here and stagger them and do one here and one here. So I'm just gonna kind of keep my thumb there and mark it with the needle, and then just feed in my sewing tail with one of the leaves and just weave it in. So at this point, just weave in your, so just weaving them in. And of course, this is the top, so make sure that it's facing the right direction. And so we're just gonna leave it like that and sew it in place. I'm gonna grab some more of it. And then I could do it with the other tail too, because I have that other tail from when we started the leaf. And just kind of go back and forth however many times you feel secures the leaf to the stem. And then if it's flopping over like that, which is what it's doing, one trick is to go up into the little stem section. Here, go up the first and then up the second one, and maybe come out of the stitches like that. So kind of feed up into it, bring it close to the stem again, and that'll kind of, oops, got one of these caught. Okay. So feeding it up high up here, going up here and pulling it. See how that brings it nice and close? And that makes it a little more upright, not just flopping over. Perfect. And then just keep weaving in the ends to secure it. And then do the other one maybe a little bit right here. And that's it. So it is all done. The little leaves are on the stem. And then I'll just go ahead and, have a little space that'll go right in the hole here. And so there it is, my little African marigold. And yeah, it's very cute, especially cute for little kids, like little kids' room or something like that. Just a fun little project. So anyway, I hope you like this. Give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and I will see you in the next video.